More than 170 Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft are still on the ground after the Federal Aviation Administration ordered airlines to ground the planes to conduct inspections. That was on Saturday following a door plug failure on an Alaska Airlines flight Friday night. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun saying, quote, a quality escape occurred. He made those comments earlier today on CNBC. Joining us now is Billy Nolen, former FAA Administrator and Archer Aviation Chief Safety Officer. Billy, thank you so much for being here. When we look at the FAA investigation into this, what can we expect? How does this sort of play out, and what are the steps that the agency follows when it's looking into an incident like this?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks, Julie, for having me on today. The first thing that happens in an event like this, which is either a serious incident or an accident, the National Transportation Safety Board is on point to lead that investigation. The FAA is a part of that investigation, as well as Boeing, the airlines, labor, the pilots union, the flight attendants union. They are parties to the investigation as well. So we're about 5 days, as you mentioned, we're about 5 days into this investigation, and it's still in what we call the fact-finding phase. That being said, the NTSB is starting to have at least some theories. It feels like they're netting out on, was this a process failure or a quality escape, as Dave Calhoun referred to that, in manufacturing? Most likely not, because there are lots of airplanes flying around the world that have plug-type doors, and this is the first incident of its kind. So it feels like it leads into it being a manufacturing or an assembly issue. So I expect that the board will continue to focus on both Spirit AeroSystems and Boeing and say what happens from the time that this fuselage is delivered to Boeing as they complete the fit out, in terms of putting putting the airplane back together, and make sure that all of those quality steps are taken. Now, that's the job of the NTSB to get to the bottom of what happened. Now it's incumbent upon the FAA to say they have issued this emergency airworthiness directive that they initially had out on Monday night, that's now being revised, and that the FAA is in the process of reviewing and approving, that says, here's how you go about inspecting this 170 grounded MAX 9s, right? So that process, as we've already heard, will take somewhere between 4 to 8 hours, depending on the airline and the number of folks they have to get that work done. So I know that they're keen to get these airplanes back in the air. But as the FAA stated, they will not do that until they are completely satisfied on an airplane by airplane basis that the safety case has been totally made and all of the inspection criteria has been met.
And let's say, Billy, as you point out, listen, the investigation ongoing here, we're still trying to determine root cause. If it was, though, Billy, manufacturing assembly, what would be the remedies there? What would the FAA ask to be done in response to that?
Well, you go back and look at it, and but Dave Calhoun made a good point, right? He says, look, there's this mantra about safety first, quality always. And so when you hear the word a quality escape, mean either was that a misstep or was there a final inspection? Again, I'm hypothesizing here that wasn't met. So Boeing will go back and take a deep dive look, and it's going to be incumbent upon the FAA in its oversight role. And I know, I'm sure you're aware, but the FAA has a strong oversight team there that's with Boeing all the time. So I expect this will be some increased level of surveillance or oversight, if you will. So as we continue to work to get to the bottom of this, and the challenge will be for Dave Calhoun and his executive team, how do they continually reinforce this culture of quality that makes sure that every airplane that flows off the assembly line is without defect, and that the public can expect that it's as safe as Boeing is able to make it.
Billy, for those of us who have been following the company for a while, obviously we have seen some of the other issues that Boeing has had with safety over the past several years, and there's been a lot of criticism of them. Equally, the FAA, one would think, maybe should have caught some of this stuff. So I guess the question is, where does the blame lie when something like this happens?
Well, at first, really good points, Julie. First and foremost, let's get through the course of the investigation itself. So I think that the NTSB has the door itself, the plug door, in their in their Washington offices. So they're working through what that analysis will reveal. Were the boats attached? Were they stripped away by the force of the rapid decompression? So all of that is in play. It's an opportunity for Boeing to go back and look at all of its procedures, and as well as the procedures that it oversees, Spirit AeroSystem. It's another opportunity for the FAA to say, hey, is there anything that we've missed as an agency? I can assure you, during my time as acting administrator, I know Michael Whitaker is doing exactly the same thing. These are the questions I ask our team. Have we missed something in terms of how we oversee? Now, the FAA has beefed up the number of inspectors that it has assigned to Boeing and to other OEMs, and it has beefed up that level of interactions. And there's still some authorities that the FAA has yet to give back to Boeing. So this is a process of working through this investigation, see what comes out of it as from a proximate cause of it and what might be the contributing factors. And then we'd ask ourselves, okay, is there anything else that we need to do different to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Billy, the airline industry, it's been a rough start to 2024, right? You had these planes colliding in Tokyo. Billy, now we have this midair mishap. Some folks might be watching this right now and just getting concerned about flying. If your friends and family asked you, Billy, about that, what would you say about whether it's still safe to fly?
It is absolutely safe, and I can say that, without hesitation and categorically. On any given day in our national airspace system, we've got something between 45 to 50,000 flights per day that all day in, day out, 14, 15 hours a day, go back and forth to their destination. And you're carrying on average of about 2 million Americans per day are in the air flying at, almost at any given time. So, this is very safe. That being said, Josh, it is always good for us to step back and say, number one, neither safety nor quality can ever afford to take a day off. The consequences are just too dire, right? So this is an opportunity to say, hey, what was missed here? How do we make the system even safer and even more robust than it is today, thus ensuring the American people and the flying public that not only is the FAA, safety is their North Star. And then for Boeing, for them to take a deep dive and say, okay, we've got to get back to what really made us one of America's greatest companies, and let's not have this happen on our watch ever again.
And Billy, I want to get you here out of here on this question. I've heard, Billy, some folks make the argument, former regulators who say the issue here could be broader. And what they say, Billy, is that the system, in their opinion, is under a kind of pressure, a kind of strain, in that you have this huge demand for traffic, they say, but at the same time, the labor pool is tight of qualified, experienced pilots, air traffic controllers. What's your take on that, Billy?
Yeah, I would say we do need more trained and certified air traffic controllers. The FAA needs a consistent and steady funding stream. That's before the Congress right now. So that's another one that they need. We are seeing, as you look out and you look at the outlook, that we will need an incredible number of pilots, an incredible number of aircraft maintenance technician, flight attendants, the whole ecosystem. We're back to this. We've surpassed already where we were pre-pandemic, right? So the world is back flying, and they're back flying in a big way, and the projections are there. So does that provide a little bit of stressors into the system? I think it does, but there's a lot of work ongoing, not only within the airlines themselves, within the OEMs, be it Boeing, be it Airbus, Embraer, et cetera, but also in the halls of Congress and within the administration that says, what is it that we need to do to make sure that America retains its lead that it has always had, and when it comes to air transportation, and make sure that we have covered all of our bases so that we're not having these kind of conversation where something has happened that we really did avoid having this be something very significant and, could have been, something a lot worse.
Yeah, here's hoping we don't have cause to talk to you again about this kind of stuff anytime soon, Billy. Thank you so much. Really, our viewers are going to benefit from your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate having me on today.